as always. Good morning and happy new month to Nigeria.
I'm sure you are hearing us banter and rambling over these issues, but let's get started perhaps with the New Telegraph newspaper. The New Telegraph is leading with issues around security. Gunmen abduct pastor, wife orders in Kogi church, bridesmaid in Sokoto. Let me see what the writers are saying. Religious leaders should stop gathering worshippers in unsafe locations. I don't know who that is credited to. Bandits demand 150 million naira ransom on Kwara Monarch. Kebbi police foil bandits attack, recover 141 Russell livestock motorcycles. How to tackle security challenges by Tukur Gambari. Mr. Dayo.
Yes, it seems that of late, since the whole U.S. brouhaha about insecurity in Nigeria, we've scored some successes. In as much as it seems there's been a ramping up of insecurity activities, armed forces have made some successes. But here's the issue. Last week we had rescues, we had recoveries. Whether they were based on actual military intervention, whether they were ransom, the point is we got the kidnapped victims back. And the euphoria was high. We were happy that our victims have been rescued, our armed forces are on the job. But why does it seem like these successes are followed up by additional increasing incidents? I have a theory that we seem to be caught up in the euphoria of the recovery and forget that that is just one part of the equation. There's still the issue of deterrence. If we are so happy that we got our victims back, how about the people who committed the crime? What is happening to them? We don't hear anything. Rescues do not occur in a vacuum. Either they negotiated with somebody and paid ransom, or they went into the forest and rescued these people by the coercive apparatus of the military. One way or another, there was an engagement between the rescuers and the abductors. So we got the kidnapped victims back. What did we do? What happened to the people who did the abductions? We didn't hear anything. Were they arrested? Were they neutralized? Have they been charged to court? Or were they just let go? Were we just so happy that we got the victims back that we didn't bother about the people who committed the crime? I put it to you that the increasing spate of insecurity, in spite of our successes, is because there is no deterrence. There is no political will to show that it's not just getting the girls or getting the kidnapped victims back that resolves the issue. We want to deter this type of behavior by letting you know that it's not acceptable. So not only will we get our victims back, but those of you who are the effrontery to carry this kind of thing out, we will deal with you. I'm not seeing that second half of the equation take place. Yes, the military is bombing one or two places. There was something in Taraba yesterday where they neutralized some people. I'm saying that banditry, they are becoming bolder and bolder and bolder because they are seeing that the worst thing that can happen is that the Nigerian state will take back its people, whether with ransom or without, and they will go scot-free. I think that needs to change, that the message needs to be passed across forcefully, that not only will we get our victims back, but we will deal with you as well in such a way that it will be a deterrent to others. I don't think there's enough disincentive at the moment to stop this kind of thing from proliferating. People are not afraid to do this anymore because they don't see any concerted effort to bring them to book. The focus is just get the victims back. But that's not enough. Getting the victims back is just the beginning. It's just one priority out of several. So that's the issue for me. I don't think we will begin to see a massive reduction in insecurity based on the current way of doing things. It needs to change. Changing a few top military brass here and there with the same modus operandi is not going to solve this problem, I don't think.
Well, you know, Mr. Akitobi, sometimes success in terms of security may be relative to our experiences as a nation. We've been to countries where the slightest, concern of insecurity elicits the presence of security operatives. But that's not the case where Nigeria is concerned. We see security agents come to provide, intervention after the fact instead of when it was critical, when the emergency required the evacuation of safety or a deterrence in terms of, those who were causing the unrest. The success that we have recorded maybe just be peculiar to our experience. Speaking of which, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning, we have 42,000 schools still vulnerable despite $30 million safe school funds. I wonder if you're losing count, as I have done, of the number of parliaments that have investigated the safe school funds that came through under the Jonathan administration. But it seems as if we take 2 steps forward and then another backwards. Mr. Akitobi.
We have the governors to blame for this one because out of 36 states plus the FCT, only about 6 states have met up to the co-funding requirement of this Safe Schools initiative. And the whole idea, of course, is that funds were provided that enabled state governments to be able to take steps to protect vulnerable schools, because in the rural, many of us have a tendency to look at Nigeria through a very narrow prism. Nigeria is not all about just the cities, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Enugu, Ibadan. The majority of Lagos lives in the rural areas, and what happens is that schools are located in isolated areas where there could be far distances between a school and a settlement or a community, because it's just not possible. It's not practical or feasible to have a school in every single village or every single hamlet. And so invariably, what you see happening is that these funds have been put together to create an enabling environment for these schools to be safe, both in terms of security, in terms of intelligence gathering, in terms of surveillance, in terms of providing actual security personnel in the schools, because like I said, they're quite remote and quite distant. Now, the initiative required the governors to co-fund the initiative. The governors were supposed to bring matching funds, and so far only 6 states have done so, and 30 are just twiddling their thumbs over this thing and saying, well, security is not our problem. We've been fighting for state police. You're not giving it to us. So, well, whatever comes out of it is your issue. But the governors need to recognize the fact that first and foremost, their responsibility is to the citizens of their state. Forget what the responsibilities of the federal government are. It's that same argument about, oh, it's a federal road, so I won't fix it because if I fix it, they won't reimburse my funds. But who is using those roads? It's your state, your constituencies within your state. Same thing about this school issue is that even if it is a federal government initiative, it is the people of the individual states that are directly affected. And so it becomes the responsibility of the governors. And so far they are falling down on the job with regards to this particular issue, because $30 million is a whole lot of money. If you convert that into Naira at today's rate, it's several billions that could make a substantive difference in terms of protecting these schools. That's why you see that it's open season on schools in rural areas, because they are easy, soft targets. There is very little that can be done to defend a school against a bandit attack at this point in time. We've seen a few vigilante defensive measures here and there, but by and large, they are sporadic and they are ineffective and insufficient. So what this initiative was meant to do is provide the necessary tools to keep our children safe. I saw somebody somewhere yesterday saying that the solution is to close the schools for now, close boarding schools for now. And somebody else was saying if you close boarding schools, you are killing education in areas where education is required to pull people out of poverty. So which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Well, so you look at it and you say, how do we resolve this issue? A solution has been provided. Money has been put aside specifically to provide security for the schools in a way that would at least, if not deter, at least provide a buffer that will provide first level protection, because our security forces are overstretched. Even if an attack is underway and you call them and say, oh, please, we're under attack, how long will it take them to get there? Before they get there, before they can mobilize? Like Bukola said earlier, our ability to be proactive and ward off these things before they happen, that ability is quite limited in Nigeria today. We are more reactive, that after it has happened is when we now get up and start running helter-skelter, which of course by then the damage has been done. Right. So I just want to put it and say the state governors should be the ones held accountable for this issue of the safe school funds not meeting up to their desired impact as of today.
Well, Mr. Akintobi, This Nigeria is next, and it's good to see you again. The lead story... Right, the lead story is, of course, same as what we've seen across the board. Gunmen hit Kogi Church, troops battle criminal gangs nationwide. Pastor, wife, several worshippers abducted, and if you look at the pattern, northwest in Kano, Sokoto, north central, you see as well. So it's almost like it's not random. The pattern is not random, but it's made to look random. But almost the same places we've seen, except that Kano is a new one. But I'm really fishing for some cherry news on the front page this morning. So I'll just give you these two. Rice farmers predict price drop. Lagos pegs bag at 57,000 naira. I'm sure that's some cherry news because we know rice is a very, very important commodity in Nigeria. And the other good story, which I'm choosing to pick out this morning, is resident doctors suspend strike, issue fresh 4-week deadline. Almost like a mixed bag, really. They suspended the strike, but they're saying you have 4 weeks to sort the issues. Mr. Akintobi, these stories are certainly something we can also look to and say, well, it's not all bad, is it?
No, it can't be all bad. I mean, Nigeria is a resilient country. We are happy people. We can bear a lot of stress and strife and carry on like life is normal. So I would say that in spite of all the challenging news that we hear, Nigerians are still trucking along like, everything's fine and dandy. So there's always a silver lining behind every cloud. I like the part about the price of rice coming down because, today being December 1, Christmas is upon us, and jollof rice and chicken is our Christmas Day staple. So if the price of rice is coming down, it means many of us are not guaranteed to have that Christmas fixings on the table on Christmas Day. Lagos a long time ago invested in a rice mill. I think it's in Imota in the area of Ikorodu. And during the immediate past administration of the state, they actually launched something called Lake Rice, which when it came out, there was quite a lot of hoopla behind it. And it was meant to completely reduce, by increasing supply, it was meant to reduce the price of the commodity statewide, at least. And initially it did do that. Even though there were issues of, when it first started coming out, it was only friends of the government in power who were able to get allocations and things like that. But by and large, we started seeing it seep into the marketplace gradually. And it was good quality rice, and it was competitively priced. So I would say that generally, food inflation is coming down slowly. Or at least the numbers are saying so, even if we're not seeing it in the marketplace. So places like Lagos are taking the lead to force prices down beyond the statistics that NBS releases. If we are taking manual steps to bring prices down forcibly, like Lagos State is doing here, is fixing its price at a certain amount. And I'm sure that computed into that amount is already cost of production and profit. And it's still saying, we're going to sell it at this amount, which is probably cheaper than anything we can get on the market today. That's cherry news. It means that we have the means, governmentally and within the private sector, to adjust prices unilaterally, to make them drop and still be able to be profitable for the producers. Let's talk about the resident doctors suspending their strike. I'm happy to hear it, but I'm also sad because I know people who've passed away since this strike started, avoidable deaths. deaths that didn't need to happen. Kind of, it goes back to what Bukola was talking about earlier, that we are reactive and not proactive. Why did things have to grind to a halt to the point that doctors had to down their tools and endanger precious Nigerian lives when this thing is still going to get to the negotiating table any which way you look at it? Every single dispute between labor and government ends up on the negotiating table sooner or later. So why do we wait till later after countless lives have been lost? What they're going to go and talk about now in the next 4 weeks that they've given the deadline is the same thing that they've been talking about since, and they could have talked about last week or week before they went on the strike. So why would government take a hard line to the point of precipitating downing tools by the resident doctors in a way that has endangered Nigerian lives? Countless people have not been able to get services in the general hospitals, in the primary health care centers, the various places where, I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier. The elite in Nigeria, because we can afford private hospitals, we forget that there are people across areas of Nigeria who don't live in Lagos, don't live in Port Harcourt, don't live in Abuja, and are eking out a hard scrabble life in the rural areas and are fully dependent, almost completely dependent on government largesse and government intervention. So resident doctors are key to that. They man the general hospitals, they man the healthcare sector. When they down tools, the ordinary Nigerian has no alternative. That's why you see chemists and pharmacists and alternative medical practitioners doing a thriving business. When resident doctors are on strike, people seek out chemists, which is the most dangerous way to treat yourself or treat any ailment, is to start self-medicating or being medicated by a non-professional medical practitioner. It's very risky. So I just always have said, when two sides are battling, there's always a solution somewhere in the middle. It requires commitment, it requires patience, it requires the willingness to be flexible. Why are we so rigid? Why is government not willing to bend a little? If you look everywhere, you see issues. ASU problem, resident doctors problem, NLC problem. What does that tell us? It means that government is not flexible enough. Yes, government has competing issues. There are resources are demanded everywhere. It can't give everything to doctors. It can't give everything to teachers. It can't give everything to everybody who wants it. But it can negotiate in good faith. Explain its position that, look, this is all the money we have. We can't give it all to you, but here's how we can meet your demands, whether incrementally, installmentally, whatever the case may be. Work with us, we will work with you. But it has to take a shutdown completely and lives lost avoidably for this kind of thing to happen. It's not a good situation. I'm not happy about it.
Absolutely. Well said, Mr. Akintobi. We wish that, as you said it now, they'll listen and it won't happen again. But there are no guarantees, unfortunately. But we hope there will be a day when we look back at this moment and say, oh, remember when we used to talk like this? Those days are over. We hope that day will come in our lifetime. Mr. Akintobi, Public Affairs Analyst, thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate it. My pleasure always. Good morning, Nigeria. Happy New Month. Wishing you the same. And we'll take a break. We'll come back with sweet guests. So, security, Reverend Dachomo, and the security experts will be joining us in just a moment. Stay with us.